May we be willing to do what you ask of us in trust and faith. In Christ's name. Amen. Please be seated. The Gospel of Luke, the story that we just heard, paints a very vivid picture. And I've had the opportunity and fortunate to be able to kind of go to the place where this story is associated with. And there on the shores of the Sea of Galilee, sort of up in that, if you thought about that lake as a clock, right around 2 o'clock on that clock face is where Capernaum is. And slightly more south on the same edge, maybe about 2:30, 3 o'clock, is where the local people say this preaching happened. Because if you look at the landscape, you'll see that off the shore, which is very flat beach, it rather suddenly rises up into sort of a dell shape of a very beautiful hillside. And if you're there at the right time of year, and it's kind of spring, you actually see beautiful wildflowers. It's quite lovely. And in fact, that's the setting that's often associated where Jesus does the sermon about the lilies, how beautiful they are, and how God, dresses them. And so we ought not to be worried. And so in that kind of beautiful setting up on a dell-shaped hillside, this is the place associated where Jesus liked to come and teach a lot. It's very close to where there was it still is, a small cave associated with hermitages, people who wanted to go away and be able to be close to God by themselves. And apparently this is a place locally associated where he used to go a lot. And one of the unspoken rules of etiquette was, if someone is using that cave, you don't bother them because they're trying to be alone. But people were there, knowing Jesus was there, and they were definitely bothering him. So that rule of etiquette was somewhat broken, and he knew it. But instead of getting, mad and screaming and, go home, he does something else. The crowd is large enough where they're not going to be able to hear his voice very well if he's kind of among them. And there's so many, they're pressing in on him, they want to hear his teaching. And so he says to Simon, and we think at this point in Luke's Gospel, Simon knows who Jesus is, and has already had him to his home, knows him pretty well, knows his teachings, and is willing to be compliant with this. But he has just had a whole night of fishing on the lake. And let me pause for a moment and talk about the setting of this boat that they're talking about in the midst of this beautiful landscape. There is on display right now at sort of at that 2 o'clock place, just slightly south of Capernaum, is a kibbutz that has a museum as part of it. And in 1986, archaeologists discovered a first century fishing boat that was buried in the mud that became revealed at a point when the water level had dropped very low. And they were able to preserve this boat, do what they needed to do to make sure it would be able to withstand being on display and be preserved. So the dimensions of this boat are very typical of what would have been the kind of boat Simon is using and that Jesus is in. It's about 27 feet long. It's about 7.5 feet wide, with a very shallow draft. The whole boat from the bottom to the rim is only about 4 feet. So it's really intended to have good balance for the fishing, nice and broad, and to be able to be in shallow water. There's also an indication that it would have had a very small mast in the middle in case of the need for the sail, as well as oars. So this is a pretty manageable boat in these circumstances and in good weather. Now, into this boat, Jesus says, pull away from shore. And he's not trying to leave the people. He's rather putting himself in a really excellent position to take advantage of that dell, which is a natural amphitheater. And water, for those of you who've been sailing on water, is a natural conductor of sound. You can hear things that sound much closer than they really are because the water helps transmit that sound. So not only has he had this beautiful dell, he has water helping protect his voice so he doesn't have to scream. And in fact, at a recent time that I was there was another group of people, and they actually got a boat and went out to show people, their group, how easy it was in a normal speaking voice to hear, even way up on this dell. So in this setting, he takes the time to teach them. Now again, you can imagine Simon and his partners have just spent a long night, but they obviously love and respect what Jesus is doing. They care about it. And okay, we're tired, but we'll take you out so you can teach, and maybe then everybody will go home and so can we. And you kind of get that feeling that they're ready for this to be done, though they love it. But he's not done. When he's done teaching, he's not done. He says, okay, Simon, now it's time to go fishing. I want you to go out into the deep water and put down your nets. Well, first of all, this is absolutely contradictory to the way that fishing is done and was done then in that area. The shallow boat is because the fish like to be along a nice plant life along the edge of this lake. And so he's going, I've been fishing this my entire life, there's not going to be any fish in the deep part, would be what he's screaming to himself inside. But go to the deep part and put down your nets. And he's like, we've been fishing all night long, we haven't caught anything. You can almost hear him trying not to whine. We haven't caught anything. And okay, if you say it, I'll put down the nets. Because he's trying to be faithful in his friendship, if not faithful to his Lord. So here he is. He's probably already seen Jesus do a lot of things that's got his attention. He may have already had the experience of Jesus even healing his own mother by that point in the relationship. Because Jesus has been there so much. And staying with Simon when he's in the area of Capernaum. So, okay, they go out and then they put down the nets, and then this thing happens. Can you imagine if in your professional lives and what you're an expert in, whether you're a hobbyist or an expert in something, you know a lot about a topic, and someone comes to you who you're pretty sure never caught a fish in their entire life or knows anything about your topic, and they say, I think if you do the exact opposite thing, you'll do better. And that's the situation that Simon is in. Can you imagine how he's trying not to say the nuts? And then this happens. And he's completely contradicted. How chagrining is that, first of all? And so instead of getting mad about that, he kind of says, I have been a sinner because I basically, judged you as being nuts and not knowing about this, and you were right. And so instead of getting mad about that and embarrassed about that and ashamed about that, he just says, I've sinned in my words and in my heart and did not trust you and I doubted you. And so send me away. And they're out in the middle of the freaking lake. Send me away. Where's he going to go? And he says, do not be afraid. That phrase, do not be afraid, is used 120 times in the Gospels. Do not be afraid. It's an exact, again, contrary statement to much of the Old Testament tradition, or the Hebrew tradition, that depicts a rather vengeful and not very nice God, of which it says faith looks like fear of the Lord. And here we have 120 times people saying to Christians who would follow Jesus, do not be afraid. Do not be afraid. God has come in a person who's very approachable, and a person who, while he has very strong opinions, is not saying to anybody, you are unworthy. He never says that. He says, you keep going the way you're going, you're going to have big problems. And I'm going to challenge you if I think you're saying something that really isn't faithful. And he's not afraid to do that. But he's always ready and wanting very much to be in relationship with people of all ilk and all opinion. And so here he is saying, do not be afraid. I'm not going to hurt you because you sinned. I'm not going to cast you out of this boat, let you drown in the lake, whatever. We're going to go to shore. We're going to let these fish, go to market, and you're coming with me because now you're going to fish for people. So instead of condemning him, he absolutely even more embraces him and says, you're perfect just as you are. We're going. Now, to give up the way of life that Simon ever knew, to go do something that he does not know what, demonstrates his arc from a completely untrusting place to one of absolute trust. No trust, okay, you got me, in that way. One of the things that happens to me, and I don't know if this happens to you, many times I hear it when I'm in pastoral counseling with other people who come to me, I often hear the phrase, and I've said it myself, God, why is this happening? This could be something that happens to you in life. It could be a dear loss. It could be accident and injury. It could be all kinds of things. It could be things and events in the world. God, why is this happening? Why is this challenge happening? And so I lift that up in prayer. I've heard many lift it up in prayer. And I think it is an act of faith to ask that question. To have that, it's not even necessarily doubt, but to say, what is going on? I don't understand. And to be in that place of vulnerability. Now, most recently, for the past several months, I've been in this bishop search process in Maine. And 5 candidates were on that final slate. And yesterday was that election. And a man named Thomas Brown was the person elected to be Bishop of Maine, the 10th Bishop of Maine. And when that happened, I had this little tiny moment where I said, why is this happening? That's not what I thought was going to happen. Why is this happening? I'm just honest with myself, I'm honest with God. Why is this happening? And then something happened that happens to me a lot, and it's kind of annoying. And I don't know if it happens to you. When I will say that in prayer, God, why is it happening this way? Why is this happening? What are you doing? I will often hear God turn that around, just like Jesus standing in the boat with the echo and resonance coming back, as though God's voice has changed that question around and is saying to me, why is this happening? How do you think it's happening? Because I'm the one that has to reflect on it. I'm the one that has to ponder that. Whenever I want to ask that question, I come to a place of wanting to turn around with the other ear and say, what is God asking? Why is this happening? Well, here's what I've come to about that, even yesterday. Why is this happening in the church right now and in Maine? Not long ago, around 2002, when the Diocese of New Hampshire was going through its selection process of a bishop, in the next year when they actually had their election in 2003, they elected a man named Gene Robinson. Gene Robinson was the first known, out loud, gay man in a committed relationship in the church. And we had only just the previous General Convention as a church said that we would admit LGBTQ people into every order of ordination. And so New Hampshire tested it out. And what happened next was, later in that year, was the next General Convention, where you can do the process of approving a bishop election instead of the process of mailing it all out and getting them back, approvals from different dioceses, because every diocese has to approve a bishop election. So because General Convention was happening again, General Convention got to say, while all the dioceses are gathered, we approve. So what happened next? As you may know, if you've attended Episcopal 101, the Anglican Communion was not happy. Many parishes and dioceses in our own church were not happy. The Southern Cone churches were not happy. And the Archbishop of Canterbury was fit to be tied. Mostly because that decision, said the Archbishop, jeopardized our unity. To which our church essentially said, if our unity is based on conformity, then we are not in the fellowship of the communion as we understand it. Because our diversity within the communion is what we value. Now, yesterday, why did this happen? It's been 16 years since we've done it again. Because the Episcopal Church got its hands slapped big time. And a commission that never existed before from the Anglican Consultative Council was formed to basically condemn us. And last year, when our representatives from the Episcopal Church, including our own presiding bishop, attended a gathering of bishops at Lambeth Palace, where the Archbishop is, in England, he was formally in front of everyone, shamed and told what a bad thing it is that the American church, the Episcopal Church in the United States, we're actually very international. We have Episcopal churches throughout 9 different provinces, should be ashamed and think about itself again, what it has done. And therefore, they were not given voice or vote on the floor of that meeting. And our presiding bishop got up. If you've heard him preach, every time he preaches, it is love, love, love. And he said, when God presents us with loving people, we love them back. Period. Why did this happen? The Diocese of Maine, when Gene Robinson was consecrated in 2003, a committee emerged called Concern Maine, or Maine Concern, that was basically very much against this idea. Now, 16 years later, look what they've done. Because they, like Simon, did a 180. And it took some time. And it took reflection. Why is this happening? Because the God who has promised to make all things new is doing exactly that. So for me, I can only celebrate that we have once again, not only as the Diocese of Maine, but as the Episcopal Church, a year before next year's Lambeth Gathering, have said very loudly and clearly, this is who we are. And people who love, we love them back. In Christ's name, amen.